I'm hoping that the call is going through now. If that's the case, I apologize. I hope I've corrected the error. I got a text from somebody that said they couldn't hear me. Okay, they say I'm on now. So, unfortunately, I'm going to need to start over with what I said, and it figures it's one of the more unpleasant things I've got to discuss, and I've got to repeat it. Again, thanks so much for listening to the call. It's June 26th. We're halfway through the year. I've got a lot to discuss, but as I said, I had a little bit of a bone to pick with some individuals that have complained that I have not gotten back to them in a timely fashion. We're extremely busy right now. We're under duress. A lot of individuals are contacting us. Anyone that received our trust package within the last 6 months, I apologize if I haven't gotten back to you more quickly. I'll try to do better. But individuals that received our trust package 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago, done nothing with it, and then decided in the last week or two that they were going to contact us and they wanted immediate attention, that's not going to happen. I'll get to you as quickly as I can. If I get another complaint, we're not doing business. It's just that simple. There's plenty of people out there sitting by a phone that's not ringing because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Call one of them. If you want to deal with us, you're going to have to be a little patient. Again, I apologize. There's only one of me. I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm not taking any crap from someone that's had a package for 2 years and decides they need to speak to Jim George 5 minutes ago. It's not going to happen, and I'm not going to make any apology to those individuals. So let's proceed. I apologize for having to digress a little bit, but I need to get that off of my chest because it's really frustrating. The only analogy I can make is when I was in college, I worked as a bartender and a waiter at night, and it never failed. The person that ran you to death was the person that always stiffed you on the tip. And it seems to be individuals are just wired that way. I understand that. I try to do my best to accommodate them. But as I said, if you've been sitting on our trust package for years, don't expect me to knock down any doors to get to you as quickly as I possibly can. I'm going to deal with the people that are dealing with me forthrightly and in a proper way. So let's get into why we came to this call today and our discussion. First, of course, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves. We're sharing with you the information that we believe to be most relevant. With regard to the date and rate of the reinstitution or evaluation of the Iraqi dinar, I cannot give you an official date or rate, but I can tell you in that my opinion, we're done. In other words, everything that was needed to be done in order for this to come to fruition has been done. Therefore, it could happen literally at any time. I want to start today with just a little bit of a brief history of the Kuwaiti dinar, because I think we are right now where we were with the Kuwaiti dinar back in 1991. Very briefly, in August of 1990, Saddam Hussein, leader of Iraq, invaded Kuwait. His rationalization, of course, you got to remember, this is a very egomaniacal individual. He considered himself to be the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. He actually considered Kuwait to be under the ancient domain of Iraq, but the truth of the matter was he needed their oil reserves in order to cover the debt that he had incurred in their war with Iran, a war that he began. So as a result, during this period of time that Iraq had occupied Kuwait, their currency was sanctioned because obviously they were afraid for that currency to get out and get into the wrong hands. At the time, the Kuwaiti dinar was probably the strongest currency against the U.S. dollar. I believe that still remains to be the case today. In any event, in February of 1991, less than a year later, Iraq was successfully expelled from Kuwait. And in March 25th of 1991, the Kuwaiti dinar was reinstituted at a rate of $3.47. Now, at the time, I and our small little group had purchased the Kuwaiti dinar for between 10 and 15 cents. So we had a very good day at the office because it went from roughly 15 cents to $3.47. But what's important here is that in early March of 1991, just weeks before the reinstitution of the Kuwaiti dinar, the country announced not to expect a reinstatement for about a year. Now, I don't know whether they were sincere about that proclamation and changed their mind because of events behind the scenes, but what I suspect is they were concerned about speculators and some of the nefarious individuals that may have gotten a hold of the Kuwaiti dinar, so they just wanted to cover the actual date and a rate, which was extremely close. I kind of think that's where we are with the Iraqi dinar, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit more detail. One thing I will mention is an individual that has really taken advantage of arbitrages of currencies globally. As a matter of fact, you could arguably say that he took down currencies of entire countries is George Soros. And it's individuals like himself that they were trying to protect themselves from. And that's still the case today. But let's fast forward to Iraq now in June of 2024. As I said earlier, I think the reinstatement, revaluation of the Iraqi dinar is a done deal. If they don't have a rate, they have a parameter of rates, and it could either come out at that rate or what I suspect is it's going to float at a premium over the dollar and quickly arrive at that rate. But why do I say we're done? Well, the point of no return, in my opinion, was January 1st of this year, where the Iraqi citizens were basically banned for using the U.S. dollar to exchange for goods and services in country. To me, that was the point of no return. And since then, Soudani, the prime minister, Alak, the governor of the central bank, and Barzani, the president of Kurdistan, seem to be working collaboratively toward the reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar. Now, why do I say it's done? Well, let's take, for example, what they've done thus far. Short of announcing a date and a rate, we know that Iraq has negotiated multiple international contracts to rebuild their infrastructure, electric grid, water systems, road systems, and even the construction of new cities. In my opinion, this cannot be done at a program rate. Therefore, in my opinion, there must be, as part of the arrangement, a memorandum of understanding regarding the rate. And why is a memorandum of understanding regarding a rate important? Because Iraq simply does not have enough USD to fund their budget, to fund these international contracts. They're not even close, even though they have, as a reserve currency, more USD than they've ever had. They're not even close. Second, they're engaged and involved in currency swaps with other countries in the Middle East. Now, the purpose of a currency swap is, of course, for central banks of other nations to hold other currencies as a reserve currency. Why would any country want to hold the Iraqi dinar as a reserve currency and exchange their functional global currency with a sanctioned currency in a program rate? The answer is they wouldn't. So once again, they're operating with a rate. Then we have the invitation of Iraq to join the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations, of course, is probably, I guess, over 50 nations now that are involved that are utilizing their own currencies as reserve currencies rather than the USD. Once again, why invite any nation to be part of the BRICS if their currency is in a sanctioned program rate? The answer is they wouldn't, unless they know that's not going to be the case very much longer. Then we have the announcement that Iraq has completed all of the requirements to join the World Trade Organization. Again, joining the World Trade Organization at a program rate makes no sense. Then we have the budget and the hydrocarbon law. Again, they need a new rate. I believe they're aware of the new rate. And once the new rate and the new category small notes are released, I think we'll be done with the budget and hydrocarbon law. Now, I want to backtrack for a moment. I mentioned the fact that Iraq has completed all the requirements to be in the World Trade Organization. It makes no sense to be in the World Trade Organization at a program rate. Well, an astute individual that's really paying attention to what's going on would say, hey, Jim, hold the phone. Vietnam is in the World Trade Organization. They're at a sanctioned program rate. This is true. However, Vietnam is in a very different situation than Iraq and any other country I can think of. Vietnam right now is involved in a closed trade system with China. And China's been getting away with murder by devaluing its currency and a lot of other nefarious things that it's been doing. There's a reason the central banks are sort of looking the other way, and our country's no different, frankly, and I'll get into that. But let's take the 30,000-mile or elevation view, 30,000-foot view. There are roughly 8 billion people on planet Earth. 1.4 billion of them, nearly 15% of them, are Chinese. So that means of the 195 countries on planet Earth, one country has 15% of the entire population of the planet. That means they have a consumer base that is a magnet to central banks globally. This is how Vietnam has been able to be in the World Trade Organization at a program rate, because they're trading with China. As a matter of fact, the arrangement that China and Vietnam had, it was the arrangement that Iran was hoping that they could consummate with Iraq, but that's not going to happen. But even recently, Vietnam is beginning to entertain trade deals with other countries. And the reason I think other countries are willing to begin at least negotiations for trade arrangements is because they believe about 5 seconds after the Iraqi dinar reinstitutes and revalues globally, everyone's going to be turning toward Vietnam and the Dong to see the same thing happen. There have also been recent comments from very important individuals in Iraq which are not ambiguous and cannot be ignored. Let's start with Soudani. This year, Soudani has made a number of statements, and a lot of them are illusory, and they're hard to really define. They could mean a number of things. They're somewhat ambiguous, but he has made some statements that are clearly unambiguous. One statement, and I've mentioned this before, he said that the IQD, the Iraqi dinar, is, present perfect tense, stronger than the USD. That means that everything he's doing in country, the negotiations with other Middle Eastern nations, the negotiations with other nations, the multilateral contracts with other nations to rebuild their infrastructure, the currency swaps, all of that is based on a rate that Iraq is operating under undisclosed. He also said that the citizens should expect a new rate this year. So that means, unless he's lying, the Iraqi dinar will have to reinstitute its currency in calendar year 2024, which means the worst case scenario, if he's telling the truth, and thus far there's no reason to believe Soudani is lying. He hasn't said anything that has been proven to be demonstrably false to my knowledge since he became prime minister. This means that the Iraqi dinar will reinstitute within the next 6 months, worst case scenario. Then we have Alak, governor of the CBI. He recently came out with a statement saying that the financial and banking reforms are virtually complete and that the revenues that they're generating from the sale of oil exceed all expectations. Basically what he's saying is they're going to be running a surplus in their budget. This all leads to the strengthening of the IQD. Then we have Saleh, who is the Minister of Finance, who said, and this is an example of kind of ambiguous language that you have to really kind of parse a little bit. He says that the new methodology utilized by the banks, both domestically and in terms of international trade, make their banking system stronger. Well, the only thing that can mean is a change in the exchange rate and the release of the lower denoms. There's no other quote-unquote methodology that's going to make the banking system stronger than a stronger currency. And if they reinstate the currency, they will have to have the new category small notes in order for individuals to simply conduct business, to exchange currency for goods and services. So given all of this, we could expect, in my opinion, a reinstitution. If it were to happen tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked, although I don't want to see it in June. I've discussed this ad nauseum. We do not want to see a reinstitution this late in the quarter. We see a reinstitution anytime in July. We're golden. We don't have to worry about taxes until September 15th. We can allow the currency to appreciate if it comes out of the float. But if it were to reinstitute in June prior to July 1st, then we're going to have to move very, very quickly to do our exchange, to have the money we need. We're going to have to pay the ordinary income tax. Unless the IRS, we can get the IRS to tell in writing that it's cap gains. If we don't pay the tax or we pay less than what the tax is due, the shortfall will be penalized at 100%. We don't want that to happen. But the way the landscape looks right now, we, in my opinion, can expect a reinstitution at any time because everything's done. And without going over everything I just said, it makes no sense that they're doing anything they're doing at a sanctioned program rate. And it makes no sense for the other nations to involve themselves without a clear understanding of at least a parameter of the dates and a rate. So this is where we find ourselves. Now, I want to touch briefly on our package, and then I'm going to have to go largely to talk to some of the people that are all offended that I have not been able to get back to them within what they consider to be a timely fashion. So I'm going to do that. I want to talk very briefly about our trust package, why it's critical to establish a trust package. Wealthy individuals, well-connected individuals have a very similar package to this for reasons that I'll discuss. By establishing our family asset protection trust package, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. If you're anticipating a substantial amount of wealth, it's a good idea to establish the trust and get those currencies in trust prior to the reinstitution. But any individual that has substantial net worth should want to protect their privacy and their anonymity for a number of reasons. Second, establishing this trust package, particularly if you're denying, it's going to help you avoid IRS scrutiny. The currencies are in trust. The valuation and the windfall profit from the evaluation will occur within the trust. That eliminates the likelihood of an IRS audit, and it absolutely eliminates the 6-year audit. If a substantial amount of wealth were to hit your personal tax return, you're probably looking at a 6-year audit. But the IRS is kind of loath to go after sophisticated trust packages. They rightly assume you have very good legal counsel. They like to go after the low-hanging fruit. But even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they can't do a 6-year audit because the only taxable event within the trust will have been the revaluation itself. Trust is also an excellent vehicle for pre-RV gifting. It includes one sub-trust because, remember, this is a package of trusts established specifically for gifting. Now, if you gift currencies pre-RV, you avoid the federal gift tax. A lot of individuals would like to do that, but they're hesitant to gift currencies to certain family and friends because they're concerned about their ability to manage the post-RV proceeds. However, we've established a special gift sub-trust within the package. If you gift for this sub-trust, not only will you avoid the federal gift tax, but you will have complete control of the post-RV proceeds for the benefit of these individuals so you can manage, invest, and distribute the money as you deem appropriate. 4, the trust will allow you to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. By avoiding probate, no one will know the size of your estate. No one will know who your heirs are. No one will know how much each stands to inherit. And they will receive their inheritance immediately because there will be no probate process. In addition, you will be able, through this trust, to avoid the federal estate tax, which can be as much as 65% of your estate, in excess of $12.2 million. So your estate is hidden from the general public. The transfer of your assets to beneficiaries is hidden from the public. The amount that they each stand to inherit is hidden from the public, and they will inherit 100 cents on the dollar because there will be no federal estate tax. All of those benefits are available only through establishing this trust. Lastly, there are certain asset protection benefits available both pre- and post-RV that simply are not available as an individual holding assets in direct title. Pre-RV, this trust will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? Let's say you purchase 10 million dinar for $10,000, transfer the currencies to the trust. They subsequently revalue for a conservative dollar. So now it's worth $10 million. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because the currencies were only worth $10,000 when you transferred them out of title to the trust. Post-RV, you're protected through something that I refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you've acquired this wealth. It's accomplished through a strategy called segregation of assets. You place the currencies in trust, they subsequently revalue. Now you've got this windfall profit. So you decide to make some purchases, homes, cars, boats, etc. As you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate sub-trust. So let's say, for example, you have a car accident, it's your fault. They can sue you and everything in the trust owned by your car, but all of your other assets are in separate trusts, which under the law are separate legal entities or persons having nothing whatsoever to do with the accident in question, so the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue them. Another example, renter slips and falls and breaks their back in one of your rental properties. Well, they can go after the rental property, but they can't go after the other rental properties and your other assets. Why? Because they're in separate sub-trusts, which under the law, separate legal entities or persons. Therefore, the plaintiff has no standing to pursue them. This is why you establish the package, to protect your privacy and to protect the wealth both pre- and post-RV. Now, over the years, we've had a number of people send us various trusts that they're looking at or they've purchased, and for our opinion, I've seen 12-page trusts, which basically are junk that people have paid $5,000 for. Our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of a master trust that will hold currencies, pre-RV, assigned currencies, and then financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV. Our one gift sub-trust, which can be converted to a standard sub-trust, and 9 additional standard sub-trusts. This is a package we sold for as much as $10,000 to our more affluent clients in the past. By marketing it, mass marketing it to dinarians, we've been able to reduce the cost to as little as $2,500. So if you're a dinarian and you want to protect your privacy and you want to protect yourself from civil litigation and you want to reduce taxes whenever possible and you want to make sure that your heirs receive 100 cents on a dollar of your estate when you pass away, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. You can contact us by either phone or email. We'll be happy to get our package out to you. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. You can contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. You can contact us by email, which is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com, or you can contact us by our phone service 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Contact us. We'll get our package out to you. You can contact me personally if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. If you're ready to proceed, everything you need is included in the package. Now, our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Sorry for cutting this call a little short and not being able to get to a Q&A, but I've got a lot of people that I need to get back to, and that's really a priority for right now. But thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye now.